I was the night shift doctor, alone in the north wing. The others had gone home hours ago. No patients here, just the break room, a few dark hallways, and my office. It was supposed to be a quiet night. I had my coffee, my laptop, and a stack of files. The heater rattled softly, the old vending machine hummed in the corner, and the clock ticked too loud. I didn't realize how much I hated the silence until the power cut out. The lights snapped off without warning. Not the whole hospital, just this wing. Everything went dark. The vending machine stopped, the heater died, and the glow from my laptop disappeared. For a second, I sat frozen, staring into the blackness, trying to understand if it was a normal outage. My gut twisted. Something felt wrong. I pulled out my phone. No signal, no Wi-Fi. My fingers moved fast, unlocking the door and stepping into the hallway. But the moment I did, I regretted it. It was like stepping into a void. The break room door was locked, windows sealed shut. I was on the second floor. No escape. I told myself to stay calm, but my hands were already shaking. I paced back to my office, checking my phone again and again. Still no signal. I sat down, trying to think, but then I heard it. Footsteps. Not one or two, but several, echoing down the black hall. My breath caught. My first thought was security, but they weren't calling out, weren't using flashlights, just walking, hunting. I crept to the door, peeking through the cracked frame. 3 figures moved smoothly past, dressed in black, not hesitating. They weren't lost. They weren't checking for people. They were looking for me. My chest tightened and I backed away, locking the door. My brain raced, trying to figure out who they were. Cops? No. Thieves? Maybe. But why here? A bang down the hall made me jump. They were breaking into rooms one by one. I slid under my desk, gripping the edge, squeezing my eyes shut for a second. The doorknob rattled. My pulse roared in my ears. I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't prepared to survive this kind of night. A sharp kick hit the door, shaking the frame. I saw the outline of one man through the frosted glass. He wasn't yelling, wasn't demanding I open up. He was patient, cold. He pulled something from his pocket, worked the lock. My fists clenched as I slid under the desk, heart thudding so loud I was sure they could hear it. The lock clicked. The door creaked open, and Boots stepped in. Heavy, slow, deliberate. He kicked a chair, checked behind a cabinet, breathing steady. I bit my lip hard, eyes locked on the Boots moving closer. He crouched down, eyes meeting mine under the desk. My body jolted into action, shoving hard against the desk, sending him stumbling back as I bolted from the room. I sprinted down the hall, legs burning, lungs on fire. I could hear their feet pounding behind me, fast, determined. Every door I passed was locked, every turn felt like a trap. My mind screamed at me to keep going, even as panic closed in like a fist around my throat. I had no plan, just the raw, blind urge to survive. I tore around a corner, but one of them was already there, blocking the way. I slammed into him, struggling, shoving, trying to break free. His fist slammed into my ribs, pain exploded through my side. I staggered, pushed past him, stumbling into the next hallway. Behind me, angry voices barked orders, feet pounded faster. My chest heaved. I was running out of time. The break room loomed ahead again, still locked. I spun, heart hammering, back pressing against the wall. One of the men approached slowly, calmly, pulling a syringe from his pocket, the needle glinting in the faint light. My breath came in ragged gasps as I shook my head, trying to back away, but the wall pressed cold against my spine.
Easy, Doc. You don't want to make this harder.
I clenched my fists, then lunged, slapping the syringe from his hand. He cursed, grabbing for me, but I ducked under his arm, bolting back down the hall. My legs screamed, feet slipping on the floor as I pushed myself harder, lungs straining, every nerve screaming, but I wasn't fast enough. Another man kicked at my legs, sending me sprawling, head cracking against the cold tile. Pain bloomed, sharp and hot, as hands yanked me back. One pinned me down, another jammed the syringe into my arm. Cold liquid burned under my skin. Panic roared in my chest, but I swung an elbow back, catching one in the face. A sharp grunt, a curse, and I shoved up, breaking free. I stumbled, dizzy, vision swimming. My legs felt like lead. I clawed at the walls, forcing myself toward the only place I knew, my office. They shouted behind me, boots slamming hard on the floor. My chest heaved, vision narrowing, but I refused to stop. I crashed into my office, slamming the door behind me. My hands fumbled at the window latch, breath ragged, heart racing. I could hear them outside, shouting, kicking at the door. My fingers slipped, vision blurring, but I forced the latch open, shoving the window wide. Cold air rushed in, biting my face, jolting me slightly awake. I climbed up, body swaying. My limbs felt heavy, but adrenaline shoved me forward. The door burst open behind me. A man lunging forward, grabbing my ankle, yanking me hard. I kicked wildly, barely keeping hold on the frame. His grip tightened, and I knew I had seconds. Summoning everything left in me, I twisted violently, tearing free, and hurled myself out the window. The cold night air blasted me as the ground rushed up. The impact knocked the breath from my lungs, pain exploding through my side. I lay in the snow, gasping, blinking up at the dark sky. Shapes loomed above me, white coats, shouting voices. Then everything went black. I woke up in a hospital bed, machines beeping softly, light stabbing into my eyes. A colleague sat by my side, face drawn with worry. He told me they found something strange in my system, something they couldn't identify. He stayed the night, said I was lucky to be alive. Later, the police came, asking questions, scribbling in their notepads. I told them about the 3 men, about the syringe, and about the chase. They promised to track him down, to keep me safe. I smiled, thanked them, told them how grateful I was it was all over. The hospital staff, the police, even my colleagues sitting by my bed, they saw me as a victim, a lucky survivor. They thought I was clean, innocent, just another doctor caught in something bigger than himself. They were so wrong. You see, I knew about those 3 men. Those were white-hat hackers. They were trying to shut down my operation. They knew what I do. They knew who I am. They know I was about to leave, and they ruined their only chance to get me. I've been running this business for years. Sometimes I told them to take terminal patients. Other times, healthy ones without families. Those people are from a red room. I feed the deep web what it craves. Real suffering, real blood, real death. And the people paying? They pay millions to watch. And now I've been doing this enough time to become filthy rich. Did you really think you were watching a story about survival? About a good man under attack? Were you rooting for me? That's adorable. Now I have enough money to disappear. No one will find me. Not the police, not the hackers, no one. You can take this story as my confession, or you can also take it as the words of a criminal celebrating that he is unpunished. I don't care what you think. You only need to know that I won. Good night.
If you ask me what the most dangerous place in the world is, I wouldn't say a war zone, a dark forest, or the side of a cliff. My answer would be the dark web. Why, do you ask? Well, let me tell you my story. I'm Emily, and this is how the deep web changed my life forever. 3 years ago, I met Mike. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party. I was just 23 back then, and he was well into his late 30s. I was surprised to see someone so old at the birthday party of a 22-year-old, but there he was in his tux, looking completely out of place. Maya, my friend whose birthday it was the daughter of Mike's business friend. The moment we spoke, butterflies didn't flutter in my stomach, nor did sparks fly when I ended up in his bed that night. But something was clear. Mike was lonely and wealthy, a perfect combination for my future husband. I wanted to launch my own business one day, and Mike would be a great help in my venture. With this thought in mind, I started dating him. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Exactly a year later, he proposed to me, and I said yes, obviously. I must admit, I never loved Mike, but he adored me. For me, he was a safety net for my future, and his mild attractiveness did not hurt. But merely weeks after our marriage, Mike changed. At first, it was subtle, like asking me where I was going all the time, calling me several times while I was out to check on me. Then he started controlling my finances, asking every time how much I spent and with whom I was hanging out with. His behavior was less loving and more controlling, as if he tried to own me. Life felt less free and more suffocating with him. He made me account for every penny I spent. It was as if the Mike I had married had completely changed and turned into a controlling husband. Around our 6-month anniversary, I hit my breaking point when I caught Mike checking my phone. He was snooping, trying to find God knows what in my cell phone. I swear, even if I didn't love him, I never once thought about cheating on him. He was my only husband and partner. But when I saw him showing distrust in me, I lost it. I knew if I wanted his money and property, there was only one way to get it all: by getting rid of Mike. That night as he slept, I browsed the deep web. A friend of mine had mentioned getting illegal weapons on it, so I knew I would find help there. After about an hour of browsing, I found a site that had a hitman on demand. No questions asked. I instantly logged into the site and was connected to a potential hitman. He only specified his code name, Brass Knuckles, and that 57 jobs were completed successfully. He asked only 3 questions: who, when, and where. I gave him Mike's details and his photo. The hitman, Brass Knuckles, said he would figure out the rest. 2 weeks later, I received an anonymous text on my phone. "Job will be in motion tonight, in your house. Stay out till the wee hours of the morning." I immediately knew that the hitman had a plan in motion. I had transferred $2 million in crypto to a wallet the hitman had mentioned earlier. That night, one of my friends had invited me to a cocktail party, and I'd planned to stall there for as long as possible. Around 11 p.m., when I was on my 3rd drink and checking my phone for messages from the hitman, my phone had finally dinged. It was Mike calling me. I ignored the calls as I knew why he was calling me, exactly. Looks like Brass Knuckles was doing his job. Mike called me around 12 times and I ignored every one of his calls. But exactly an hour later, I got a message that had my interest. "Job done. Return any time." That's all the message said. I bid farewell to all my friends and then drove home. By the time I got there, it was around 2 in the morning. I entered my home and there was a trail of blood right from the front door leading to the living room. I clutched my purse to my chest and pretended to be scared. I yelled out Mike's name and ran to the living room. The whole home was covered by CCTV cameras, and I wanted the cops to know that I was terrified. He wasn't in the living room, and a trail of blood led me to our upstairs bedroom. But the second I entered the bedroom, which had no CCTVs, my heart leaped out of my chest. There, sitting on a chair, was my husband, Mike, living and thriving as the day he was born, and beside him was the hitman I had ordered off the deep web. Brass Knuckles looked like a man in his late 40s with a gun in his hand and a scar running across his old face. Both of the men were smirking at me. "What's going on?" I was so confused. "Well, it turns out I was double booked today. Brass Knuckles said and pointed the gun at me. "I loved you. I married you. I gave you the comforts that you never had, and you repay me like this?" Mike shouted, pointing at the hitman. I can explain. This was a huge misunderstanding." I tried to smooth things out, but the hitman fired at the wall behind me, and I just shut up. I told him everything. He, Brass Knuckles, said, and tears flowed from my cheeks. The next thing I knew, he was moving towards me with a raised hand. And then everything went dark. I woke up in the hospital with cops surrounding my bed. That was 2 weeks later, and my hand was patched up, and so was most of my face and head. Mike was nowhere in sight. That's when the detective told me that I was accused of trying to kill my husband by hiring a hitman. My deep web history was the proof, and the hitman himself, Brass Knuckles, was testifying against me. Mike had told the cops that I was unstable and jealous, accused me of doing everything that he did to me, and paid the hitman to assault me instead. It was an open and shut case. And now, here I am in jail, with lifetime imprisonment for the crimes I almost committed.
I've always been careful when exploring the deep web. I know the rules. Never download anything. Never enter chat rooms where people ask for personal information. Never click on links you don't trust. I've followed these rules for years, treating it like a controlled experiment. A dark curiosity, nothing more. My friends knew about my interest, and over time, they convinced me to start making YouTube videos about it. At first, it was just for fun, talking about creepy sites, urban legends, and the weirdest things I'd found. I never showed anything illegal, never went too deep. But my audience kept growing. The more I pushed the limits, the more views I got. And I started to enjoy the thrill of it. That's what led me to that night. The night I went too far. It started like any other recording session. I had OBS open, my mic ready, and my VPN running. A few subscribers had sent me a link, claiming it led to an impossible website, a place you could only visit once. They swore that no one who entered it ever found it again. I didn't believe that, obviously. URLs don't just vanish. But I was intrigued. I clicked the link. At first, the page was empty, just a black screen. Then, white text faded in. Welcome. The cursor wouldn't move. I tried closing the browser. Nothing happened. My entire screen was frozen. Then my speakers let out a sharp static burst, and my room suddenly felt wrong. My door creaked. The air felt steel. That's when the real nightmare began. My monitor flickered. I tried to force a shutdown, but my keyboard was unresponsive. The mouse was useless. Even Task Manager wouldn't open. The only thing I could do was stare at the screen as the text changed again. Stay with us. Then, OBS crashed. My webcam light turned on by itself. The reflection in the screen showed my face, pale and tense, but something felt off. I wasn't alone in the reflection. There was someone behind me. I spun around. Nothing. Just my dark room. I grabbed my phone to turn on the flashlight, but the battery was dead. That didn't make sense. I had 80% just minutes ago. The lights flickered. My monitor went black, and then a video started playing. It was my webcam feed, but not live. It was a recording of me sitting at my desk, staring blankly ahead. But I wasn't moving. I wasn't blinking. I wasn't breathing. Then the screen distorted, static filling the display. My own face warped and twisted, stretching unnaturally. The audio turned into whispers, low and constant, speaking in a language I couldn't understand. The whispers got louder, rising to an unbearable screech, forcing me to cover my ears. I felt something behind me again, closer this time. The hairs on my neck stood on end. My chair rocked slightly as if someone had just touched it. I didn't want to turn around, but I had to. My breath caught in my throat as I slowly shifted my gaze. The shadows of my room seemed deeper now, darker than they should be. A shape flickered near the doorway, tall, thin, shifting as it struggled to stay in place. It twitched unnaturally, its form glitching like a corrupted video file. It took a step forward and the floor groaned under its weight. The video on my screen looped again, my unmoving face staring right through me. The thing at my door jerked its head towards me, as if acknowledging my presence. My body froze, every instinct screaming at me to run, but there was nowhere to go. My door was shut. The screen pulsed with another message. He sees you. Then the face appeared. It was warped, stretched like a digital glitch, a mouth too wide, eyes sunken but staring directly at me. The screen distorted as it got closer. The audio turned to garbled whispers. Then, in a clear voice, it spoke. Run. I pushed back from my desk. My door rattled violently. The handle twisted on its own. I tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. The walls groaned as if something was pressing against them from the other side. Then the blood started seeping through. Dark streaks oozed down the walls, thick and slow. Faces began to emerge from the stains, stretching, forming hollow expressions. Their mouths opened, soundless, but I could feel their screams inside my head. They weren't just appearing. They were trying to escape. The room seemed to tilt. The air felt heavy, suffocating. I gasped for breath, my heart hammering against my ribs. The screen flashed again, but this time it wasn't just text. It was me, but not me. My reflection was grinning, its head tilting in sharp, unnatural angles. My lips moved, but the voice wasn't mine. You don't belong here. Then the power cut out. My room was swallowed by darkness, but I wasn't alone. I grabbed my chair and slammed it against the door. The wood didn't even crack. My computer screen flashed again. The files on my desktop multiplied, filling every inch of the screen. The same message repeated in each file name. Run, 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 run. One file opened on its own. It was a text document. There is no way out. You are with us now. The walls pulsed, shifting. The faces broke free, their limbs stretching unnaturally as they crawled from the walls. The air was thick with the smell of rot. My head throbbed, my vision blurred. They moved toward me, jerking, twitching, their fingers reaching. The light bulb above me shattered. The darkness swallowed the room. I clawed at the walls, desperate to escape, but my fingers found no purchase. Cold, skeletal hands wrapped around my wrist, pulling me downward. My own screams mixed with theirs, a chorus of suffering filling the room. My screen glowed one last time, flashing a final message before everything went back. Welcome home. I woke up. My head jerked up from my desk. My monitor was normal. The door was fine. No blood, no faces, no whispers. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my hands. A nightmare. It had to be. Maybe I fell asleep mid-recording. I opened OBS to check the footage. Nothing was there. The recording had stopped before I clicked the link. There was no video, no evidence of what happened. I exhaled in relief, leaning back. Then I saw my desktop. The files were still there. A new document had appeared. Its title, just my name. My fingers trembled as I clicked it open. Inside, only one sentence stared back at me. You never left. One file was open, a text document. My stomach clenched as I read the words. Congratulations. You've seen it. You saw hell for a few seconds. That's where you're going when you die. My cursor moved on its own, highlighting the last sentence over and over again. My web light flickered on. Something behind me let out a slow, rasping breath. I didn't turn around.
My name is Grace Miller. I'm 27, a computer science student in my last year. I've never been popular or the type that draws attention. I mind my own business, finish my classes, do my side jobs, and get home before dark. I wasn't looking for trouble when everything happened. I wasn't flirting with anyone or trying to make enemies. All I did was tell someone I didn't want him near me. His name was Tyler, and we shared a few classes. At first, he blended into the background like any quiet student, but I started noticing things. He'd sit too close even when there was empty seats. He'd stare, not just during class, but when I was walking, eating, even just opening my laptop. I saw him several times trying to sneak a look at my screen. Once, I left my phone on the desk while I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, he was scrolling through my messages. Didn't even look ashamed. I confronted him after class. I told him he made me uncomfortable, that I didn't like how he looked at me or tried to spy on my stuff. I made it clear. I wasn't polite about it, but I wasn't aggressive either. He didn't say anything in return. Just stared with this flat, vacant expression. Then he stopped coming to class. I thought it was over. That was the start. A week passed, then 2. I started noticing guys looking at me on the street. At first it felt like regular stares, but then I realized they were always the same men. One of them followed me for 2 blocks before turning away. A different one was parked outside my house 3 nights in a row. I asked my mom if she noticed anything strange, and she said she saw someone standing across the street one morning, just staring at our window. My sister said a man watched her at her school gate, but didn't speak. Something was going on, and I didn't know who to trust. I tried to push it out of my head. Maybe it was coincidence, maybe I was paranoid, maybe I was tying all this to Tyler because I was still on edge. Then Jordan showed up. He was in one of my classes and used to hang out with Tyler sometimes. I hadn't talked to him in months. He pulled me aside at the library, eyes darting everywhere, looking like he hadn't slept in days. He told me Tyler had changed, that he spent all his time on the deep web now, said he was laughing about it, bragging even, that he paid people to harass me, follow me, record me, even try to break into my accounts, that it was some kind of game for him. Jordan told me he didn't want to be part of it, but Tyler said it was too late. He left before I could ask for proof, just turned around and walked out like he was afraid someone was watching. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying his words. Deep web, paid people, surveillance. I checked my accounts, my camera, even the screws on my laptop. I tried telling myself it wasn't real, but it was. And if nobody was going to stop him, I had to do it myself. I found Tyler's address online. He lived alone, close to the outskirts of the city. I told myself I wasn't going to do anything reckless. I just wanted to confront him, record his confession, get something to take to the police. I took my phone, a recording app, and pepper spray, just in case. When I got to his place, it was nearly dark. The curtains were closed, but one faint light was coming from the inside. The door was slightly open. I stood there for a few seconds, heart pounding. I didn't want to go in. I wanted to turn around and leave, but I couldn't. I needed answers. I pushed the door slowly, and it creaked open. The smell hit me first. Rotten food, mold, unwashed clothes. The inside was chaos. Trash everywhere, dirty dishes, half-eaten meals on the floor. The carpet was stained. Flies buzzed around the trash cans and empty bottles. The walls were covered in papers, printouts, notes, what looked like lines of code written in marker. Every step I took made the floor creak. The house wasn't silent. It was filled with this strange humming sound coming from deeper inside, like a machine left on for too long. I turned the corner and stopped. There were 3 monitors on a desk, all displaying live streams. My house. My university. My sister's school. One screen showed me standing outside Tyler's house. A camera had been set up across the street, hidden behind a window. He knew I was coming. He wanted me to come. Then I saw him. He was sitting on the floor against the wall, knees pulled up, staring straight at me. His hair was matted, his face pale and sweaty. He smiled, slow and uneven, like he'd been waiting days for this moment. You came. I knew you'd come. They always come when you open the door the right way. His voice cracked. He stood up slowly, bones popping. His clothes were stained like he hadn't changed them in weeks. I took a step back, but he moved fast and slammed the door behind me, locking it with one hand. He slid the key into his pocket. I held my pepper spray tight and kept my phone recording. Don't be scared. I just want to talk. You have to understand, this was never about hurting you. He started pacing, talking faster. He said he'd been preparing for me, that the surveillance, the men, the fear, it was part of something bigger. A lesson. He believed the deep web gave him a place to learn how to fix things. He talked about control, how relationships today were broken, how people needed structure, guidance, how I was chosen, that once I gave in, I'd see how good it could be, that I was lucky. I didn't say anything. I kept watching his pocket. He noticed. You think you can run? You're already in it. They're watching. Even if you leave, they're still out there. I paid them well. Some of them don't even want money. They just like the game. He moved closer. I backed up against the wall. The room was getting smaller. My heart was racing. I realized he didn't plan on letting me go. This wasn't a warning. It was the start of something much worse. When he stepped closer again, I sprayed him in the face. Hard. He screamed, dropping to the floor, clawing at his eyes. I rushed at him and kicked his side, grabbing at the keys hanging from his pants. He tried grabbing my leg, but I stomped on his hand and yanked the keys free. I ran to the door, unlocked it, hand on the handle, heart beating like a drum. Then I froze. If I walked out now, he'd still be alive. Still out there, still online. He knew how to hide, how to reach people. He didn't need to be free to make my life hell. He could keep pulling the strings from a cell, and if he escaped prison time, he'd be worse. He'd come back. I thought about my mom, my sister. I thought about the streams. I turned around. He was on his knees, coughing, eyes red and watery. He looked pathetic, small, but he was still smiling, like he thought he was winning. I walked over. He opened his mouth to say something. I didn't let him. I drove the keys into his chest, over and over. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just kept pushing until he stopped moving. My hands were shaking. My vision was blurry. But it was done. The neighbors called the cops. They found me sitting on the floor, blood on my hands, still holding the keys. I didn't run or lie. I gave them everything. My phone, the recording, the footage. They searched the house, found his setup, the streams, his messages on hidden forums, his transaction logs with usernames linked to deep web contracts. It helped my case. They believed he lured me, that he planned to keep me there, that he wanted to break me until I accepted him. But I still went to prison. 2 years. They said I used excessive force, that there were other ways to escape. The truth is, they didn't understand. They never saw what I saw. They didn't know what it's like to be hunted like prey for months. And maybe they never will. I got out last month. My name's changed now. I live in a different city. I don't use my real photo online. I don't go out alone at night. Sometimes I think I see someone following me, but when I look again, they're gone. I still check every room before sleeping. I unplug every camera I own. What scares me the most isn't what happened. It's knowing how easy it was for him to find people to help. They're still out there, you know? If they really were watching, they didn't try to protect the psycho. Maybe, just maybe, they were happy with what they were seeing. And that's fine by me.